All right, we're live. Good evening. This is episode 7 of This Hour Has 56 Minutes. I'm here with my host, Dan Mann. It's just going to be me and Dan Mann tonight. But I think we'll got enough to cover. It's going to be good, right?
No, of course. I mean, when is it not good? That's the whole thing. When is this show not great?
Yeah. Well, we're filling a niche, so how can it not be good?
Exactly. I mean, we're
Uh,
the only ones that are kind of doing what we're doing, right? In a sense,
yeah, and I want to thank you for bringing up the story about the gay bakers,
the gay kickers.
the the gay. No, no, no. Yeah, I got a headache, not thinking straight about the bakers not wanting to bake this gay cake. I thought it was ruled in their favor, but apparently not.
Yep.
Yeah,
Apparently not. Yeah. This is welcome to the communist section of the United States, right?
yeah. I mean, this is actually the only branch of government that has any real power is the judicial branch. That's the one mistake they made in the Constitution. They put all of these checks and balances, but there's no checks and balances on a judicial system.
Yep.
They,
None.
it's only sovereign branch of the government, really.
Yep.
And
And it's Go ahead.
yeah, and all these big changes that happened in the 1960s, they weren't voted for. They weren't passed through legislation through the Senate or the House of Representatives. It was done through court decisions. Roe versus Wade, uh, Brown versus the Board of Education, etc. So a lot of the big changes in the country come from the court. Hell, there was a couple of referendums that was voted overwhelmingly by all races in California against illegal immigration, against giving free health care to illegal immigrants, free education, free be eligible for welfare benefits if they're in the country illegally. But the Supreme Court of California just struck it down.
Yeah, no, and it's no wonder that the left they're going crazy over Brett Kavanaugh, right? Like there's no doubt to see the correlation, right? Because they know that all their degeneracy and all the things that they push is going to be through the Supreme Court, right? Ultimately, why Ruth Bader Ginsburg won't just sit out that seat. She's looks like she's about to croak in any like moment, but she needs to hang on, right, a little longer.
Yeah, I don't know why she's just stepping down. I mean, isn't that what they normally do? The Supreme Court justice gets too old to just step down. Like I'm in my 80s, I can't think straight. I got Alzheimer's, but
Exactly, and but she's still there. She's just waiting after that Trump presidency, right? Like if a Democrat gets involved, woof, we could get someone else on our team on here, so I could retire. But it just seems to me that she's just gonna wait it out, and hopefully she croaks during that time period.
yeah, hopefully they just threw everything they had at the Brett Kavanaugh nomination. It was just really crazy. They were up there banging on the doors of the Supreme Court.
With their pussy hats and all that retarded shit.
Yeah.
Like all that just retarded degenerate shit, like those women, man, and probably a lot of them being from a certain tribe. I'm almost certain, right? Like I think we could all like agree in that.
Yeah, they give a bad name to women out there.
They're
Yeah.
like the like those women, like that have like those fucking cats, like 10 cats, and have like fucking nothing going on, you know what I mean, that they spent their fucking years, their youth, like getting laid with all types of men, and then didn't have any kids, and then this is what they're doing now, banging on the doors of trying to stop Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit on a tangent. So I can understand when it comes to abortion how some women would be for abortion in case of like incest or rape or the extreme rare circumstances like that. But any woman who's like very pro
I'm
abortion,
sorry, I
that
couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. You broke up a little bit.
all right. Well, I'll just start from the beginning. So I can understand why some women are can be for abortion, like in case of incest, rape, or like extreme circumstances like that. That's pretty rare, but extreme circumstances. But any woman who's so pro-abortion that she'll literally like travel across the country to put on a hat to risk going to jail by banging on a door of a Supreme Court. I, I don't know. They're not even women at that point. I don't even view them as women.
They're just fucking strange fucking creatures at this point, right? I mean, if they don't give birth, they kind of lose their fucking mind, in a sense, right? Like that's what they're
Yeah.
supposed to do. Like that's what they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years, giving birth. And when they don't give birth, kind of go a little bit apeshit crazy.
Yeah, well, back in the day, it wasn't just women, but men too. Like if you were a man or a woman that wasn't married, didn't have kids, you were kind of looked at kind of strange. You
Absolutely.
thought of being weird.
Yeah, everybody be like, "Oh, this guy!" Like, your parents would question you, "Are you gay or something? What's going on here?" Like, So yeah, that was, but now it's kind of seen like like, oh, you're empowered. Oh, you're strong. You don't need a man. Or whatever, right?
Right. Well, let's get into this article. We kind
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
digressed enough. Bakers fined 135,000 over wedding cake appeal to Supreme Court. Former owners of an Oregon bakery ordered to pay 135,000 in damages for declining to make a cake for a same-sex wedding are appealing their case to the Supreme Court. So I'm guessing that fine put them out of business. Lawyers
Yeah,
for
I can't imagine $135,000 for a bakery. Like Jesus Christ.
yeah, that's probably yeah. I don't know how much a bakery makes a month, so I'm not even going to estimate it.
Look at those parentheses in there.
Yeah, that is a Jewish last name. I could tell without even looking at even if it didn't have parentheses. Lawyers for Aaron and Melissa Klein filed a petition Monday asking the Supreme Court to reverse an earlier decision handed down by the state that forced them to shut down their family bakery. Freedom of speech has always included the freedom not to speak the government's message, said Kelly Shackelford, president and CEO of First Liberty, a nonprofit legal organization representing the clients. This case can clarify whether speech is truly free if it is government mandated. An administrative judge for the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries ruled in July 2015 that the clients had discriminated against a lesbian couple, Rachel and Laura Bauman Cryer, on the basis of their sexual orientation. The judge ordered the clients to pay 135,000 for physical, emotional, and mental damages. The clients appealed that ruling to the Oregon Court of Appeals in April 2016, and that court upheld the state agency's decision. Under Oregon, I'm probably thinking of a different bakery because this had like a similar issue, but it was actually struck down.
No, yeah,
Uh,
it might be a different one,
yeah,
but
I guess
still, it's
it
still relevant.
varies by state then. Under Oregon law, it is illegal for businesses to refuse services based on the customer's sexual orientation as well as race, gender, and other characteristics. The clients maintained that they did not discriminate, but only declined to make the cake because of their religious beliefs about marriage. Designing and baking a custom cake for a same sex wedding, they said, would violate their Christian faith. In June, the Supreme Court ruled on a similar case in favor of Jack Phillips, owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop outside Denver, Colorado. Okay, that was the one. Out in Colorado.
Yeah, of course,
Uh,
Colorado, the liberal. Let's see here, but it ruled in favor for Jack Phillips was owner of the Masterpiece Cake Shop, so it ruled in favor of. Was this that the guy was in that case? Hold on, was it Colorado Civil Rights Commission or? Oh, go ahead, you keep reading.
oh, all right. In that case, Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission. The court ruled that government officials cannot be hostile to the free exercise of religious beliefs, but the High Court did not rule specifically on the underlying question of the case, whether government may compel citizens to create messages that violate their deeply held religious beliefs. And I wouldn't say, well, I guess Colorado is a liberal state now, but isn't that where the Libertarian Party got started?
I'm not certain if it was Colorado. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it since weed got legalized. I think it was what the first state to get legalized weed, and
Yeah.
libertarians love getting their fucking weed, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's other pressing matters to be concerned about, but I guess weed is,
Weed and
you
anal
know,
sex. Weed and anal sex. You got
yeah, yeah.
those two things.
When it comes to like social issues, right? They'll always get their social issues passed, but when it comes to issues of like free speech, like this, well, property rights, practically, they'll never win on that, though.
No, I mean, look, the Libertarian Party is fucking is now the Democratic, the next Democratic Party. Like they are so fucking cucked. It is unbelievable. I mean, even the libertarians. What was the guy that saying that he would say it in Cantwell that when he was on Free Talk Live, he's like that true statement is racist. I think or some shit like that.
Yeah, that was damn. That's not Ian. It was the other guy on there who was actually went to jail for murder.
Oh, even worse. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
Oh God. No, you know what, libertarians? Let's have a murderer on the show. You know what? That sounds like perfect ops.
yeah. Somehow they keep him on the show, but Cantwell didn't even say anything. Use any racial slurs. He basically said Stefan Molyneux is right. I mean, Stefan Molyneux is not a racist. He was just looking at data, and the data says races have different levels of IQ. And he said, well, it was actually, and he explained, compared it with basketball. For you guys who don't know what happened, he compared it to basketball. It was like, well, just look at, you don't have to look at IQ, look at basketball. Blacks make up the overwhelming number of people on basketball teams and football teams. And I think that's because it's genetics. They're just genetically better at playing these sports. And that's when he said, well, yes, that may be true, but that true statement is racist.
The true statement is racist. Oh God, that's it's what God. You know what? Let's have a murderer on, but that racism, that's just terrible. How dare you?
And in Canada, saying true statements doesn't protect you against hate speech laws.
Yeah, apparently it's bad
Yeah.
over there. I don't know how bad it is, but apparently it's pretty fucking bad. I mean, God, I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that were to be coming sometime in the future.
I can see it.
Oh,
Declines
by the way, could keep going to keep going to the article. We just completely digressed again.
declines petition asks the Supreme Court to address the unanswered question left over from the Masterpiece Cake Shop case. In June, declines wrote a piece for the Daily Signal explaining what the Masterpiece Cake Shop ruling means for their case. They wrote that they were thrilled for our friend because, like Phillips, we know what it is like to be treated unfairly by a state agency, mocked, threatened, and abused by critics. The couple added, at the same time, we wonder what the future holds for our case, our lost business, and our family. Ours may be, as Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote, the case that allows further elaboration in the courts. And we are encouraged to know that 7 justices on the Supreme Court agree that the state's hostility to religious beliefs of its citizens will not be tolerated under the First Amendment. This might actually be the first big case that goes to the Supreme Court with Kavanaugh on the bench. which would be good because I think he would vote in favor of this.
I agree too. I think he would, and that is I mean, if like let's say if we had a leftist judge on there, right? They would definitely strike this against this family, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And they mentioned the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. That's, I guess that was something that was just created during the civil rights era, and they make a lot of ostensibly unconstitutional rulings, but they do it in the name of fighting racism and putting equality. It's kind of like a lot of states have these things that really shouldn't even be allowed, but they're just basically there to enforce equality, and they do it under guise of the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, yeah, they use the Civil Rights Act as their crutch, right? Like, because it's you could think about it like, how are you going to prove? Like, let's say if I were to try to hire someone and I just didn't like them because they were black, right, or whatever. How do you prove that? Like, how do you what evidence? Like, do you go into the person's mind and find out, hey, look, this person is racist against me? Like, no, man. It's just bullshit that's used to really it's a shakedown. That's what it really is. It's a
And that's
shakedown to employers.
a lot of times what they do in these civil rights commissions is they people go up to them. It's like, hey, I didn't get hired at this job. It must be because I'm black, and the business never wins in court because they can't prove it.
Exactly.
Can't prove a negative.
Exactly. How are you going to prove that someone didn't hire you because you're black, or you were fired because you were black? You know what I mean? So like these type of things like that. I'll never forget that I worked for a company that there was this black lady that she was doing poor performance, of course, and then she got fired eventually, and then what did she do? She claimed that it was racism, right? What did the company have to do? They had to go through like years and years of like documented information just in case they go to court in regards to this. Spend time and energy figuring out, and seeing like, hey, look, we're not racist. Here's the proof. You know what I mean? Like, this lady was just a fucking lazy piece of shit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that people can just come out and here. And I guess it's too bad. It's a good thing it doesn't happen frequently. Maybe because they don't know that they can actually do it. That not enough people of color know they can sue for that.
Yeah, they don't pay attention in history class about that civil rights time period. All the stuff, all the Gibbs that they got during that time period. They kind of ignored that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that is absolutely a good thing that they don't know really the legal processes, right? Of like how much benefits they really do have, and advantages that they have over all groups of people, right?
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Exactly. And then you also have these social leaders too, right? Like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, these social figures that will go to bat for anybody. A fucking criminal will fucking kill someone, and then he could get harmed after, and he could be seen as a victim.
That I don't like because literally it could be a guy just robbed a store, and then if the cop roughed up the perp too much, he can get let go free.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter that you just commit a crime. Doesn't matter how severe the crime is, but if the cop was a little too rough with him, he gets to get let it go free.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of that Michael Brown situation. Michael Brown, yeah, Michael Brown, and the Ferguson effect, right? Like ever since he, that issue happened with him, that he was like considered the gentle giant or whatever. Then you've had this effect on cops that they're scared to arrest black men. You know what I mean? Because they know that if something happens and they have to use physical force, the media will spin it on them and put them as the evil white man, or evil police oppressing the black men, or whatever the case. Even if it was a black man that did it, they'll probably even switch it on him too if he's a black cop.
Yeah, the cops work a similar way in Brazil too. They when you call up the police, a lot of times they won't show up. Sometimes you got to bribe them to get them to do their job.
Really?
Yeah, because well, Bolsonaro is trying to change that. They put in a lot of restrictions on the cops with how they face with black people. So if it's pretty much similar to what happens here.
Wow, so Brazil's running through the same problems. Is that a shocker that Brazil is running with the same issues that we have with blacks? Is that a coincidence or something?
Yeah, there's articles on the Root about it. About they run articles on black people in Brazil and how they're being unfairly treated by the justice system, being shot in disproportion to their numbers.
Oh
If I
god,
can,
here
I
comes
could bring one up.
Yeah, the root's owned by Haim Saban, which is a guy that owns Univision as well. So he's a piece of shit.
All right, on to this other article.
Yeah, go ahead.
George Soros faced a bomb threat. Too bad it was only a threat. Too bad he couldn't experience what those numerous Republican headquarters in all those states experienced.
Yeah, that's true, right? The Republican headquarters that we talked about the other day, that they were being bombed by crazy lunatic leftists.
And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez delivered an epically tone-deaf take on it. Okay, first let's get this out of the way to avoid any confusion. Bomb threats are wrong. Political violence is wrong. We can beat George Soros without dragging our country to the American version of the Troubles. That being said, conservatives hate what Soros stands for politically. That's fine. He probably hates our agenda as well. We beat him at the ballot box, and we have done so in years past. And, well, can't really beat him at the ballot box, right? I mean, he's funding, well, not really him. Paul Singer is another guy that funds these groups as well. We should be able to beat their goons in the street.
Right. Like, I don't know.
Defending ourselves in the street, I should say.
Yeah, I don't think we're beating him, like, because he's not running for politics. We're not beating him in the ballot box. We're beating his fucking, pieces of shit that follow that take his money, right? We're beating them. We're beating those pieces of shit, and we're beating them in the streets, and we are beating their political puppets too, right?
Yeah, we don't beat him. He's a big globalist, internationalist. He doesn't really stay anywhere. He's
exactly
all over the world.
Yeah, he's fucking trying to destroy other nations as well. It's not just here; he's going everywhere and trying to fuck over every country that he possibly can.
It's really cool though with the just gonna segue a little bit, just digress. The big campaign in Hungary against George Soros, they practically just use his own quotes and the quotes of his Open Society Foundation. How they want a complete open borders for Europe, a Europe where there's no ethnic majority in any country in Europe, or there's no borders between the countries in Europe, no borders between their neighbors, which would be like the Middle East and Africa. And it's honestly because nobody in Hungary was for that. That's why Erdogan and the other party, which is pretty much has Nazi aesthetics. They wear armbands and stuff when they go protest in the march.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I like that. This is in Turkey?
Hungary.
Oh, Hungary. Oh, okay. Hungary. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I do like. Those are some good ops, man.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know. He's going to need more allies, though. He's literally in the middle of Europe, as like landlocked. So if they really want to hurt him, they'll be able to hurt the country of Hungary.
Yeah, but you know what? There's something uh brave to what he's doing, right? Like compared to the other fucking countries, or Macron is like running around parading with fucking Africans and shit, and these other fucking nations that are just fucking allowing all these fucking migrants in. Hungary's taking the other side of the approach. It's very brave. It's a very, very brave and a bold statement too, right?
Yeah, I think because he took a stand, that's why he had that big win in Italy with the Nationalist Party in Italy. He had the Northern League was actually a nationalist party for Northern Italy, but they dropped that and just went the Nationalist Party for all of Italy.
That's great, and that's what needs to happen more across Europe, right, and everywhere in Europe, right. There needs to be that type of solidarity, in a sense, with the people that are similarly genetically. There needs to be that type of solidarity. There needs to be these strong groups, that nationalist groups that spring in Europe to be able to preserve and save Europe.
He clinched a huge win in 2016. He's occupying the White House right now. Sadly, for some person or persons, they decided to mail in a bomb threat to Soros. An explosive device was found on Monday in a mailbox that would. Oh, damn! They really did mail an actual bomb. Thought it was just a threat.
Shit. Goddamn.
Yeah, I need to reword the title. The
Face the
billionaire
bomb threat.
philanthropist.
No, yeah, because I thought it's a face the bomb threat. So they actually literally mailed a real bomb to him.
A law enforcement official confirmed the device was found near Mr. Soros' home. It did not explode on its own, and bomb squad technicians proactively detonated it, officials said. Federal and state law enforcement officials responded to the scene at Catanoa, New York, a hamlet in the upscale town of Bedford in northern Westchester, after the Bedford Police Department received a call about a suspicious package at about 3:45 p.m. An employee of the residence opened the package, revealing what appeared to be an explosive device. The police said in a statement the employee placed the package in a wooded area and called the Bedford police. Soros was not home, but upcoming left-winger and future Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez didn't let a single crisis go to waste and taken a swipe at Republicans. Here is where she knows she's just as clueless on current events as she is promoting her wacky economic agenda, which she has no clue for how it will be paid. She supposedly has an economic degree. Maybe she fell asleep during those classes. Here, her, I think they misspelled. No, all right. Here, take on this Soros bombing attempt is a textbook example of someone with zero self-awareness. When the right increasingly mischaracterizes nonviolent civil disobedience as violence, they provoke actual targeted attempts to harm others. He tweeted. Yeah.
Let's see here. When the right increasingly
nonviolent civil disobedience, I guess hitting people with flashlights and throwing M80s that counts as nonviolent.
Yeah, them just avoiding the fact that that they have mercenaries for them that literally go out and attack people. And the fact that George Soros has a big part to do with that. That this is why hey, that some people might be a little bit pissed. It might fucking send him a goddamn bomb to him. Yeah.
Language is powerful. As leaders with platforms spreading mistruths with the goal of generating suspicion or hate towards individuals or groups is profoundly irresponsible. We must take up the mantle of establishing peace. That happens with the positive presence of justice.
The positive presence of justice. Yeah, justice. So yeah, justice for the. What about those guys in Charlottesville that defended themselves against fucking commie pieces of shit?
Language is powerful as leaders with platforms spread mistruths with the goal of generating. I already read that. Are you that dense lady? Guy aptly noted Representative Steve Scalise and other GOP members of Congress who were targeted for assassination by Bernie Sanders supporter, volunteer James Hodgkinson. The only saving grace was that he was a bad shot, but reportedly said this is for health care. As he,
What the fuck? This is for
this is for
healthcare.
healthcare. Oh, okay, jeez.
This is for healthcare. This is Sparta. I don't know what the fuck. This is just so ridiculous.
You think it would be a better left-wing cause than that? Wow.
Right? Yeah. Like you know, I don't know, abortion. I don't know something.
Yeah, this is for abortion.
This is for abortion. You know, though, seriously, wow, like you know, they just suck at everything. Like you know, they can't even sound good when they're about to shoot someone, right? They just sound they're shitty at everything.
Scalise is a member of the House leadership and had a Capitol Police detail when the attack began last year. Hodgkinson son was killed by law enforcement. The liberal media blamed Scalise for causing the shooting due to his political beliefs. Oh, you heard about this one? Kick when they go low, we kick them.
Oh yeah, that's Eric Holder, right? That,
Eric Holder,
piece of shit as well. Another piece of shit.
What about former Attorney General Eric Holder, who said liberals should kick Republicans? And then Minnesota, the state Democratic Party spokesman, said the GOP should be to the guillotines. The spokesperson was suspended, but in the meantime, 2 Minnesota GOP candidates running for the state legislature have been assaulted. In California, 2 vandals smashed windows at Representative Kevin McCarthy's office. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy's office in California was vandalized on Monday, according to an Instagram post by the congressman. McCarthy, whose local office is in Bakersfield, California, posted pictures of the suspects and some of the damage. 2 young men were caught on surveillance camera outside of the office, which had its window smashed in by a large boulder. Does anyone know these 2 guys? They threw a boulder through our office window and took our equipment. You also have the violent antic of Antifa. The left has become a mob. They're harassing Republicans everywhere, which, by the way, won't win them votes, but it's all about feelings with these crew of lefties. The Soros bomb threat is serious and should be condemned, but to treat this as a GOP-only phenomenon is laughable. It's also almost as comical as democratic socialism.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the amount of violence that they do on their side, I mean, this is the first story that I've heard of a Republican doing anything somewhat similar, right? Like anything remotely similar, like of any retaliation. And this is to me like it's more like retaliatory, right? Like to the left, it's like a retaliation, like right to someone like George Soros, who is deliberately destroying this fucking nation. These other people, you know, the ones that these leftists that are attacking these Republicans, they're misguided, right? They're more misguided on false information that the news media, propaganda puts into their fucking head.
Yeah, because they're the ones that get all their information on the television, when they go on the internet, they go on CNN, MSNBC, or some of these BuzzFeed. They go on pretty much mainstream type of websites, and that's where they get their information. They don't really question it.
Exactly. So if you're not questioning it, and you literally are thinking that these people, want to destroy healthcare and they don't care about sick people and all these fucking talking points that the left has, right? Like what's another one? The one with abortions, right? That that they don't want women to have choices in their bodies or whatever the fucking case. Then you're gonna have these fucking psychopaths that go out there and fucking commit these type of crimes, right? But if someone that I would say deserves for things like this to happen to them, it would be someone like George Soros, right?
Yeah, George Soros is the I did look up the names of other people. He's the one that's most prominent. They're the ones that'll, they show up in the media because they don't want you noticing the pattern of all the other people that are similar to Soros. There's a pretty obvious pattern.
Yeah, no, let me ask you by any chance, because someone brought this up in the chat. Anton, speaking of BuzzFeed, did you guys see the hit piece on there about how Spencer abused his wife? Did you hear anything about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
I think we have to search for that. Do you have Anton by any chance? Do you have that article with you? And if you can, just I don't think he could post it because he doesn't have a wrench. But we got to start giving people some fucking wrenches here.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Yeah,
if I knew how to, right?
Yeah, we're
there we go.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, I found how to do it.
All right, Anton, if you please please link us that article because I would definitely love to see that article. And it's from BuzzFeed, so you know it's going to be quality, quality laughter. You know what I mean? BuzzFeed.
Yeah, BuzzFeed's such cancer, though.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's going to be fucking cancer and ridiculous. It's not even. God knows what type of horrible things that they're just going to spew. To Richard Spencer.
White nationalist Richard Spencer's wife says in divorce filings that he physically and emotionally abused her. And I didn't even know they were divorced. That's kind of. I knew they were separated because he was getting harassed nonstop by leftist. It was like a nonstop leftist mob, and his wife just wanted to get away from him because he just couldn't handle all the harassment. But I guess the marriage kind of broke up because of it.
God, that's a there goes leftist breaking up another family.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. They do have one kid together, I think. The only language women understand is violence. Nina, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, said Spencer told her. Spencer said, I dispute many of her assertions. Now, I don't see Richard Spencer being a violent type of guy. Maybe that's just me, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, the guy's literally been punched in the face and he didn't even become violent there, right? Yeah. So, I mean, Jesus Christ. Fucking God. Like, how this sounds so ridiculous already to me.
The wife of Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, has accused him of being physically, emotionally, verbally, financially abusive throughout their marriage, according to the divorce filings in Flathead County District Court in Montana. And that sounds like a copy pasta that you say every time you're about to get divorced. You say he abused me in every single way humanly possible. Legally, every legal definition of abuse, he's done it to me.
Yeah, right. Well, and you know what I like? Have you seen that they underline white nationalist leader?
Yeah.
How horrible.
Nina Koopa, who married Spencer in August 2010, has 2 young children with him. Alleges that Spencer physically abused her, including instances where she was being hit, being grabbed, being dragged around by her hair, being held down in a manner that caused bruising, and being prevented from calling for help. Koopa, who went by Kupri Nova in some public interviews, and NK in the documents, has been reluctant to call police or seek an order of protection for fear of further reprisal by Spencer, her lawyer said in court documents.
Oh my God.
Which I find bullshit, right? Because Richard Spencer is an infamous white nationalist leader. I'm sure the cops, people who order the cops are more than likely, more than happy to deal with Spencer.
Exactly. Like, I mean, Spencer is like the prime target, right? If Spencer ever abused her, right, and this is ever like actually like there's actual evidence and physical, or domestic phone calls and things, the media would have been on top of this in a heartbeat, right? They would have been all over this.
Yeah, and he would have been in jail.
Oh my God,
big time.
Big time, and they would have given him the worst of all sentences, like they would have given him like the book. They would have thrown the book at him.
Much of the abuse has occurred in the presence of the party's children. The document said that Spencer's controversial public life has led his entire family to be targets of violence, which is true. Violence, harassment, and he had to, him and his wife and his kids had to keep a low profile. Even where he lives out in Montana, where there's hardly anybody out there. It's very, sparsely populated, but even there he's not safe. And Spencer kept a loaded weapon in his bedroom that was accessible by children after he was assaulted in public on the day of President Trump's inauguration.
Was that the one that he got punched in the face? Was that the one
Yeah.
that they're yeah, that had to be that one.
Yeah, I don't blame Richard keeping a gun at his home, right? Because you don't know who would try to break into your house, and more than likely, somebody's going to try to break into your house if they know where a person like him lives.
Yeah, no,
So,
and Cantwell does the same thing too, right? Cantwell does not walk outside his home without his weapon.
so like, I don't even know how you can blame him for that. He could easily beat that and saying like, look, my family has been big targets of violence. I need some way to protect them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this guy is literally one of the most hated men on the leftist targets on their crosshairs, right?
Yeah. Despite the risk to his family, Kupranova argued in court, Spencer continues to engage in extremely polarizing public speech advocating peaceful ethnic cleansing and a white-only ethno state, which tends to invite passions and violence. Most, if not all, of Spencer's public speaking events even result in violence, the affidavit states. Excuse me. Spencer, who claims to have coined the term alt-right, has promoted his beliefs on the national stage at events and rallies that have more often than not attracted violence. Spencer attended the Unite the Rally in Charlottesville 2017, where a woman protesting white supremacy was killed.
Yeah, that fat fucking pork of fucking Heather Heyer.
I dispute many of her assertions, Spencer said in a court violence, adding he denies each and every and all allegations. Spencer told BuzzFeed News his lawyers would send a comment. Kupranova's lawyer declined the comment.
Wow, look at that. I mean, this is fucking crazy, man. Like it reminds me this just from what I think, from what I'm hearing, it just seems to me that, she's getting tired of having to deal with a lot of the shit that, that he's had to go through, right? And women naturally want to be in areas where they're comfortable. When they're comfortable, they don't like to disagree with society much, so
and they want to be safe, right? I mean, I don't think it's very safe being Richard Spencer's wife.
Oh shit, we got Arnell on the fucking chat, bro.
Oh, who do we have?
Arnell?
Nice.
Arnell?
Damn,
Oh,
Arnell
man.
needs to get on this
Oh yeah,
in our show
absolutely.
one of these days.
For sure. We definitely gotta get him on here. But yeah, no. To me, it just seems like as I said, how's the sea Mexican? Well, I'm doing great, my friend. I'm doing great. Boy, my arms are tired from swimming so much. But yeah. So Spencer, like I said, that women, generally speaking, they want to have comfort in their lives, and they don't like to disagree much. It's something that's in them. That they've evolved to be agreeable, and this is what it just seems to me, that she's getting tired of what the harassment that Richard Spencer has endured during this time period. How uncomfortable, and especially having children too, when you want to protect your children.
Yeah, I think that's really it. I mean, women don't want to be disagreeable with the whole of society. They want to fit in with society, blend in, if you will, and also they want to feel that their family is safe and protected. And I feel like I'm repeating myself. Being Richard Spencer's wife, you certainly can't be safe. You're always in constant danger.
Exactly. She probably should have a gun, if anything, too, as well, just in
Yeah,
case. Because man, these leftists are so fucking wacky that they'll attack women too. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, they fucking threw piss at I think it was Lauren Southern, right? So I
yeah.
mean, the God, these people have no fucking standards. So the thing is that I see with this is just for her associating herself just by having his kids, she's always, I think, going to be in danger. Like, just always. I that's just my opinion. You know, there's always going to be a threat because there's always going to be the fact, oh, you're associated with that white nationalist guy. Oh, that's the way these people think, right?
All right, continuing on with the article. The couple has been living separately since July 1st, 2017, with Spencer splitting his time between Whitefish, Montana, where Spencer and Cupriya Nova live in separate residencies, and the Washington, D.C. area. Spencer has previously stated that he was separated from his Russian-born wife, who also holds Canadian citizenship, as early as November 22, 2016, in a Washington Post profile. He added in that article that his work was taking a toll on the relationship. Nova has tried to explain some of Spencer's positions when asked by the Observer to explain her husband's desire to create an ethno state. She said, "In my understanding, these comments are about a theoretical future, a dream for people of European descent per se, not concrete policy suggestions for contemporary United States." She added, "Ethnic cleansing is a very loaded term. There are some recent examples of fairly peaceful separations." When asked in the same interview, "Do you think that people of other races should be eradicated in order to achieve the perfect society?" she responded, "No."
Well,
Well,
hold
Richard
on, hold on.
Spencer doesn't even believe that either. What the hell?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is like, hold on a second, because she's saying here that ethnic cleansing. Of course, this is something that BuzzFeed would say, right? Ethnic cleansing is a very, but she's saying it's a very loaded term. Recent examples of peaceful separation, which peaceful separation is, of course, what would be desirable, right, for everybody. So I don't see anything wrong with what she's saying here specifically, and of course that that there's no that she doesn't want to eradicate. No one wants to eradicate other races. That's not the thing. They just want to peacefully separate from each other. Whether that could be achieved or not, that's another question. If it could be peaceful or not, but still, I don't see anything. It seems to me that this is just BuzzFeed filling in some kind of weird gaps here. What do you think?
Yeah, they're trying to definitely put a spin on it to make it worse than it actually seems.
Exactly. It's kind of funny that you have to decipher all this bullshit. Like you have to kind of like read it and be like, wait, hold on a second.
In divorce filings, Nova alleged Spencer had increased his alcohol consumption. I know I would if I was getting assaulted in the streets, sent death threats. And it's essentially never being at peace wherever I'm going in public. Hell, you can't even go grocery shopping without somebody trying to assault you.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. So yeah, yeah, I don't blame him.
Which contributes to his aggressive and erratic behavior and reduces his impulse control. Spencer denied this. The documents also claim that Spencer was verbally abusive to the children's babysitter, including in front of their children, where he allegedly called the babysitter a fucking mediocre,
Mediocre.
sorry, human
A
being,
fucking
not
sub
Medicare,
mediocre.
the YouTuber, mediocre.
Mediocre human being and a fucking moron. Oh, gee. Oh god, this is
The,
great.
the court filing goes on to claim both children have been adversely impacted by his behavior. "None of the allegations of abuse have anything to do with my children," Spencer wrote in his own 48-page affidavit. Spencer goes on to write that Caprianova obviously and litigiously tries to rope the children into our dispute by saying they were in the room next door or they overheard abusive talk. Caprianova's 78-page affidavit includes exhibits containing text messages and emails that are meant to corroborate her claims, in addition to photos that supposedly show bruising suffered by her. Copies of the court's documents provided by the Flathead County clerk are in black and white and are overexposed. She said that Spencer's favorite statement to her was the only language women understand is violence. He also allegedly told her once, "I'm famous and you are not. I am important and you are not."
Oh my god! Come on, come on! Like, how fucking ridiculous does that fucking sound?
That totally sounds like she made that up.
Oh, that sounds like Richard Spencer. That just sounds like Richard Spencer, right? Like, I'm famous and you're not. I'm important and you're not. Like, wow, like for a guy that's as well read as Richard Spencer, him saying something like that, it just sounds so fucking not true, man.
In January 2011, about 5 months after the civil wedding ceremony and 3 weeks before their church wedding ceremony, Kupia Nova said that Spencer dragged her down the stairs by her legs, arms, and hair and threw her on a couch, resulting in bruises. Now,
So he picked up all these these body parts and just threw her on at the same time. Is that what this is? Is that what that's saying? Legs, arms, and hair. So he picked her arms, legs, and hair all and threw her on the couch.
and if you've seen these two together, his wife's much taller than him too. So I don't know how he managed that one.
Oh God.
I was very sick with the stomach flu, could not keep food or water down, wanted to stay in bed recovering. Mr. Spencer wanted to watch a movie downstairs and did not take no for an answer, she wrote. He dragged me out of bed by my arms, legs, and hair, dragged me down the stairs, threw me onto the couch. At that point, he calmed down and turned on his movie. The incident resulted in bruises.
Oh God. All that I need to hear next is that he raped her, and that there we go, and that's it. That's just to add on to the fucking like the bullshit in this and the way it sounds at least.
Yeah, so he wanted to watch a movie, so he grabbed her in the bedroom and threw her down on the couch so he can watch a movie.
How ridiculous is that? Oh my God. I know when I get pissed, I do the same thing,
In 2012, she said Spencer had held me down on the ground, smashing my head into the floor. She added, "I remember feeling ashamed that the neighbors might hear what's going on." In early July 2014, Kubria Nova said that when she was 4 months pregnant, Spencer got on top of me, held me down with his body weight, held me by my neck and lower jaw, which she said caused bruising. She included in court records an email exchange from July 7th where she wrote to Spencer saying, "I'm not ready to converse with you after what you've done. My jaw is bruised. I'm sorry and I feel terrible." Spencer responded. He was very happy, hasn't had the time to sit down with me to set it up yet. To be perfectly honest, I'm not ready to converse with after what you've done. My jaw is bruised. I understand. I'm sorry and I feel terrible.
This sounds like some rough sex, probably.
Maybe.
Like some real raw sex, Maybe she was just, I don't even want to say what I was about to say.
Days later, while visiting her mother in Canada, Kupria Nova said, "My mother noticed bruises on my jaw, chest, and leg. She urged me to document them, which at that point she said were faded and yellow." Kupria Nova included the photographs in the court filings via an email to herself she titled "Bruises." She said that an incident while they were watching a movie and happened after she attempted to cuddle with Spencer. He went into Mr. Hyde in the evenings and had issues with handling physical intimacy, including hugs. In late October 2017, when she was 9 months pregnant, she said Spencer tried to punch me in the face during an unexpected visit. And a transcript of an audio recording in a court file allegedly from the same night, Kupria Nova said to Spencer, "You're going to hit a pregnant woman, and later you just try to push me into the freaking stove."
You just try to push me into the freaking stove. Okay. Let's see here. Why did he freak out? Well, Richard was screaming that I will never get rid of him for the rest of my life, and that even if he's left with 1 penny, he'll be happy he can make me half zero. What the fuck? Oh God. Go ahead, keep going. This is just great.
We attempted to go to divorce mediation intro meeting where the rules were explained. That was fine, but he freaked out in the car, pulled me by my gait, etc., my hair. The affidavit also contains pages of transcripts, conversations with Spencer that Kuprianova supertis. How do you say that word?
Let me see.
Surreptitiously.
Where I don't see where you're at. Sorry, I was listening to you. Oh, surreptitiously. God, this
Surreptitiously. Yeah, that's how I thought.
surreptitiously recorded on her phone.
And one transcript, she said, Spencer asked her, "Do you think your parents will attend your funeral?" I asked a question. I asked a question. What is your question? Why don't you answer it? What is your question? Do you think your parents will attend your funeral? You do this every time. You come in, you bombard me with bizarre statements. You have no connection with me whatsoever. What kind of a connection? The only way to have a connection with you is to break through in some way. You stand there, you have no emotion. Like, what is your fucking problem? You requested to come into this apartment to play with. I'm packing. Actually, it helps me if you have her occupied. In his affidavit, Spencer goes into great length to explain his longing to see his children since divorce proceedings were initiated and how interaction with his children is important for his own maturation. Spencer says that Caprianova repeatedly prevented his visitation by stonewalling, coming up with implausible excuses, willingly ignoring polite requests, and provided screenshots of text messages, conversations as evidence of the excuses and stonewalling. Childhood separation from parents may be considered child abuse, he wrote. In October, a judge said Spencer could have supervised visits with his children at two neutral locations, could FaceTime with his children 4 times a week for 30 minutes each. The
Wow.
judge also directed to enter into counseling, focus on anger and communication issues, so he can learn how to effectively communicate in a contentious situation.
Oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? So
Well, he
four
knows how
days.
to do that already.
Yeah, yeah. Look. I mean, Jesus, did you that part that it 30 minutes, 4 days a week, 30 minutes? What the fuck? How? Like that's terrible, man. Like, how does a father like deal with something? Just 30 minutes, 4 days a week? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, just a Skype conversation, pretty much.
Yeah, no, it's a Skype conversation. It's literally this is just showing you the power that women hold in the legal system, right? In the legal process, that he's only going to be seeing his kids for 30 minutes, 4 days a week, 2 hours, 2 hours a week, pretty much.
Before Caprianova filed for divorce in June 2018, Spencer had faced fallout related to his unabashed positions on white supremacy and his advocacy for a white ethno state. In January of this year, Spencer told BuzzFeed News he couldn't find a lawyer to defend him in a lawsuit that seeks to hold multiple people and groups responsible for the violence at the rally in Charlottesville. The rally captured international headlines as violence broke out between white supremacist groups and protesters in Charlottesville over the removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Heather Heyer was killed in a car allegedly driven by James Alex Fields Jr. 21 drove into a group of counter protesters, resulting in more than 30 others being injured. And in April, Facebook took down two Facebook pages belonging to Spencer. Vice News first reported. In May, his website, altright.com, was taken down by hosting service GoDaddy because it crossed the line and encouraged and promoted violence in a direct and threatening manner. Okay. That's
Oh, her name was
that's a
misspelled.
lot.
Yeah, God, there's a lot of shit in that fucking article, man. uh, to me, it just shows that to me, it highlights to me what I think is that she's just got tired of the harassment that she was facing from leftists, right? And she's bowed to the peer pressure of the left in a sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's more of like she couldn't handle the pressure and the stress. And I'm sure that she was being nudged on by some people out there to divorce Spencer.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he's, but now we know the real reason why he canceled his college tour. But
Yeah.
it might be because TWP is no longer around. But yeah, that could have been one of the reasons too. He was dealing with a divorce.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue, and one that, it deals with children too. It deals with his kids, which is big. And, I mean, for Christ's sakes, 30 minutes, 2 hours a week. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. That Richard Spencer does not seem like a fucking crazy guy. I mean, no. I mean, I understand we know him personally, but to do that to him, and his wife bowing to this pressure, it's a shame, because she doesn't know what type of damage that she's doing. But again, this is like women's nature, right? This is what they do. They're not used to this type of pressure, right? They're not used to being in very uncomfortable situations for a long period of time.
Yeah, I don't really blame her actually. In a way, kind of expected. You can't expect that much from a woman. You can't expect them to act completely indifferent to what they're hardwired for.
Exactly. So it's expected, of course, in a sense. If she was able to support him, she'd have a lot more, you know I guess it'll be more honorable for her. But most women fold during these type of things, right? Which is why they're the way they are. That's just, men are the ones that go through these situations of bravery and courage, and trying to change society and all this stuff. This is usually men that do these things. So that's what I have to say about that.
So I grabbed an article about Brazil because we have the Bolsonaro elections coming around. I believe next week is when they vote again. He's definitely going to win. I know that for a fact. So this is about the genocide of black people. The killing of Afro-Brazilians by police is an injustice Maria Franco was fighting to end. She's
Genocide of black people. Look at that. Genocide of black people.
she's believe one of the group leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement that there was in Brazil.
What does that say? Go up there. Go up there real quick. Sorry. Let me. It says Mariel presente.
Present.
Yeah. Yeah. Luto everbo. Is that? I don't know what that means. Because sometimes you could understand Portuguese a little bit, since since it's similar to Spanish. Luto would that mean? Luto would be, was that like struggle? That's what I think it means.
Always struggling to forever struggle.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
They walked 2.5 miles to the site of her assassination, all while dancing, chanting, and crying. On that hot and muggy, what the dancing, chanting, and crying? About somebody getting shot? Okay. On that hot and muggy night on April 14th in Rio de Janeiro, more than, I'll put it this way, every night in Rio is hot and muggy if you ever visit there. More than 3,000 people gathered at the center of Rio to demand police action and the murder of Afro-Brazilian politician Maria Franco to mark the 1-month anniversary of her death. Franco, known for initiatives to help favela dwellers, blacks, and the poor, was assassinated March 14th. Armed men gunned down a councilwoman down in her car in the center of the city with 9 shots, 4 to the head. Her driver, Anderson Pedro Gomez, also died. Soon after her death, police matched the bullets that killed her to a lot that was sold to the federal police more than a decade ago, leading people to believe even more that her death was caused by someone connected to the police. Local police have yet to arrest anybody. Well, if these bullets were sold to the police a decade ago, the bullets could have just been stolen from the police.
Yeah,
that could also have been that too.
It's not really that connected. You know what I mean? Like decades ago. Jesus, like, what about like all the in between that time period, right?
As news of her assassination spread across the world, celebrities and activists like Ava DuVernay, Angela Davis, Janelle Monáe signed a letter demanding action from the Brazilian government. Black activists shut down a major highway in Sao Paulo, denouncing what they describe as state-sponsored violence against black people. And I just want to assassinations of presidents, I mean of politicians of this kind happen all the time in Brazil because a lot of these politicians are pretty corrupt and they end up working for the drug cartels on the side. And sometimes they don't do what they want and they end up assassinated. So
Yeah, it's normal in some countries where political candidates or political people that hold political power get assassinated. I believe Philippines is one of the places as well that many of the, not because of Duarte, but of because they don't follow whatever policies or procedures that drug cartels and others have for them, and they get assassinated. In some countries, it's more normal than others.
yeah, essentially the criminal gangs run the country. They rule by assassination.
Exactly. So it's there's nothing surprising there to me, at least, and then it shouldn't be surprising to anybody else.
Artists in Rio de Janeiro across the world are creating artwork inspired by Franco. Maria Franco's name now even graces a street in a library in Rio de Janeiro. That peaceful April protest reached a tense high point when protesters clashed police headquarters in Rio de Janeiro. The police stood silently as the crowd projected their pent-up anger towards them and the building in a non-violent way.
Oh
The
yeah,
chants,
because we know that blacks, that they have no such there's no such thing as violent blacks out there.
yeah, when you get a group of them protesting, they're always non-violent.
Yeah, they're always gonna it's always gonna be a peaceful march. It's always gonna be peaceful, guys. So just remember that.
The chants grew larger and people danced harder. One woman, a follower of the Afro-Brazilian Candomblé religion, handed the police officer a white flower. And I'm going to assume that, like a lot of these black religions in the Caribbean and throughout countries in Latin America, it's really just voodoo.
Yeah, it's like a repackaged voodoo. Yeah, it's like a repackaged voodoo.
Yeah, it's a V package, exactly.
Exactly. So one thing that I go back up to the article, I wanted to see something.
Sure.
So it says here that the chants grew louder and people demanded harder. Hold on, let me see here. What was it?
People danced harder.
Yeah, danced harder. I don't know if danced harder. That is, to me, it sounds like they were acting more. They were chimping out more. That's what it sounds like to me.
O guerrilla, now acabou tem crime acabar. Eu quero o fim da polícia militar. So the war, not something.
Yeah, it says here the war hasn't ended. It needs to end. I want the end of the military police. It sounds like
There we
what
go.
someone.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I know that was want. I know that's war. I'm guessing that's no. So
It's somewhat similar to Black Lives Matter wanting to end the police, right? Like they want like a complete deconstruction of the police, the police system.
the war hasn't. Well, essentially, it is the same group, Black Lives Matter, in Brazil, and it's funded by the same people. The war hasn't ended. It needs to end. I want the end of the military police. The war they were referring to is the war that happens in poor neighborhoods across the country. And when police enter these communities and kill residents with impunity, in pursuit of drug traffickers. Franco spent most of her short political career fighting and denouncing this war and the mountain deaths of black people and poor people often causes. Many Afro-Brazilians refer to this endless killings of black as the O Genocídio do Povo Negro, the genocide of black people.
Povo
Povo means people, I guess.
Yeah.
Marielle's principal action was defending the human rights. I know my Portuguese is horrible. I probably pronounced it all wrong. Was defending the human rights of people in the favela, said Jeremia Relnick, executive director of Amnesty International Brazil. Brazil is the country with the highest homicide rate in the world. This murder at rate at this size, which is mainly young black and poor youth, this speaks of a lack of will by the state to protect these young people. And a genocide happens when there is deliberate, daily, and systematic killing of a specific group of people by the state. In this case, Afro-Brazilians. But it, I'm sure if you look at I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but I'm pretty sure more black people get killed in homicides and in crime than they are killed by police.
Yeah, and
Uh,
if they are killed by police, it's usually because they've done something, something pretty bad.
Afro-Brazilians only need to point to the statistics to prove it. Afro-Brazilians make up just over 50% of Brazil's population, according to the Atlas of Violence. More than 59,000 people were killed in Brazil in 2015. Of every 100 people murdered in Brazil, 71 are black. Black people have a 23% greater chance of being victims of homicide than people of other races. Being victims of homicide by other black people. Then totally forget to mention that. Of the total number of murders, more than 30,000 of young people between the ages of 15 and 29, 72% are black. A black person is assassinated every 23 minutes.
Is this
That
shocking?
is,
Is this really shocking? Like, is this like really shocking to me? Like, because this is like, what can we expect? Of course, they commit more crime usually. Of course.
at most, only 10% of these murders are investigated, so there is a culture of impunity that allows this genocide to persist. Now, with when there's a murder in Brazil, like in a favela, like some crime that happens, there's a culture in the favela to keep your mouth shut and just mind your own business. So that's why a lot of these murders aren't being investigated because if somebody gets assassinated in the middle of the day, there's tons of witnesses that see it. However, none of the witnesses ever say anything to the police, and the people that did the assassination gets go away free.
Yeah, that sounds somewhat similar to African American culture with hip hop music, right? Like you're a snitch if you rat out someone that did some sort of crime, right? And then you'll be, in a sense, ostracized by your community and potentially even punished, right?
Yeah, and that's a big difference from like how white people behave. Like if there's a crime that was being committed by like somebody's relative, the relative his own relatives would turn him in.
Exactly, but then you'll have like Michael Brown's family, like, oh, he was a good boy. He was gonna go to college. He was going to have, he was getting his high school diploma, whatever, right?
And snitching should be only applied to people that are actually criminals, right? Like if you're in a criminal conspiracy and you tell on the police on them, that would be snitching. But like reporting crime in your neighborhood, that should be the duty of every good citizen out there. Like if somebody
Exactly.
gets murdered in broad daylight, you could report that crime without being a snitch. I mean, it's just
You should
keeping a murder
report
off
that
the
crime.
street.
Exactly. You're improving your community, right? In a sense, right? Because you have one less murderer in your area. Right? So in essence, your society is going to become better, is going to start becoming a little bit better. But if you don't report that because you don't want to be a snitch, then that guy's still in the streets and potentially and the criminal's going to continue committing more crimes. So yeah, that's definitely not going to help you out in the long run.
The death rates were so alarming that Amnesty International created a campaign in 2014 called Joven Negro Vivo, Young People Alive, to mobilize civil society to bring about the end of the extermination of black people. It is unclear how many of these murders were committed by police nationwide because high quality data does not exist or is underreported. The state of Rio de Janeiro has one of the deadliest police force in Brazil. Last year, the police force was responsible for more than 1,000 killings. Now, 1,000 killings compared to what 60,000 people killed a year. Not even 1%.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's not a that's not very that's a very low statistic.
Policemen also suffer a high mortality rate. Last year, 134 policemen were killed, most of them black. Because most of the country's black, most of the police force is also black. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of the police don't want to actually do their job. Why a lot of times you got to bribe them because it's pretty deadly. A lot of them get killed.
Yeah, I
Well,
wouldn't doubt it.
maybe not killed, but injured pretty badly.
Yeah, it's dangerous, right? I mean, wasn't it when Brazil, I believe, were they the ones that did the World Cup recently or the Olympics or something?
Yeah, it was the. I think it was the Olympics.
I think it was the Olympics, and they were warning everybody, not go out in the streets, be careful, because this is a very, very dangerous country, right? Because did you see that art? It's a long time ago, but did you hear
Yeah, there
about
was
that?
They said to stay around the tourist zone because they pretty much invested all of their police force to just keep them in the tourist zone and then just ignored the other areas.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Because you got to protect these people, right? Because they're spending tons of money in your country, so you need to protect them. That's for sure.
Afro-Brazilians in the Black movement also point to the history of Brazil, a country built on genocide, they say. The Brazilian state is the product of genocide, said Negro Bellacourt, a columnist with Carta Capital magazine. There were almost 400 years of slavery, and the genocide of these people originated with the indigenous people and a genocide of the African population and their descendants. The result of this is a state that kills blacks and then creates conditions that allows people to kill blacks. You know, if people reading this article didn't understand that Brazil is majority black, they probably would buy this bullshit. But with a country that's majority black, it's pretty much you could safely say it's a black country. Now, it's not run by blacks. All of the most of the politicians are white. Most of the business leaders are white, but most of the people that live there are black.
Yeah, and a lot of the whites that were in Brazil have fled over here too. So they've come here as well.
The police and justice system was designed to imprison and kill blacks, Balcourt continues. Genocide also happens when, through its institutions, the state supports historical racism and stigmas that make black people the target of general violence. Then, on top of this, there is the denial of basic human rights to black people. When the government implements policies that takes away the rights of workers and reduces money and social initiatives that help reduce racial inequality, it is also murdering black people. But that's not really true. Before the current president, they had the I can't remember the female name, but she was also in the same party of the her predecessor, and they're part of the Workers' Party. And their plan of reducing violence, reducing crime, was more welfare. And essentially, they were going to these favelas, tearing down the favelas and building condominiums in place of it. And they were giving the condominiums for free to the black people that lived there. And as you can imagine, the condominiums that they built were condemned within like a couple of years. They never took care of them, even though they were given the condominiums for free. They were given welfare benefits and such, but it wasn't upkept.
Yeah, of course. They're not gonna want. They're not gonna. When it comes to like government giving things to people, they usually, you know, especially when it comes to giving it to African, this people that descend from Africa, they tend not to really care for it. Like, yeah, there's white people that are on welfare, right? Like, yeah, that exists, but they tend to care for things more than people that are African and are on welfare. They tend to care less of it. Isn't that something?
Yeah, and as you can tell, when they were increasing those two presidents were increasing the welfare spending, crime really shot up. It didn't decrease at all. It just took like a big skyrocket upward because all it was doing was increasing their birth rates,
Oh yeah,
increasing welfare.
yeah. Yeah, let's make more of these type of criminals, you know? That's a great idea.
Amnesty International wasn't the first organization to bring attention to this modern form of genocide. Reaha or Seria Muerto, React or Be Dead, is an organization based in Salvador that has been working to bring attention to the issue since at least 2005. The group, led by Hamilton Borges, based in Salvador, has been leading a campaign against the genocide of Afro Brazilians for the last 13 years. Since 2013, it has sponsored a protest march every August against the genocide of Black people. And, jeez, hold on, lost my spot. In 2015, Reaha even brought a formal complaint against the military police to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights of the Organization of American States. What the fuck?
What
I
the
didn't
fuck
even
is
know
going
we
on?
had any type of organization like that.
Jesus Christ. Like all these fucking nonsense and organizations. Like Inter-American Commission on Human Rights and the Organization of American States. What the fuck is that? Like, what the
Jeez.
hell is that?
So it isn't just the UN we got to worry about. There's all these other small organizations on top of the UN.
Exactly. And they play an important role in this fucking type of propaganda.
The first person to publicly acknowledge this genocide was Abdias do Nascimento, considered Brazil's foremost black thought leader. Nascimento, an actor, artist, and professor of black studies, published the book The Genocide of Black Brazilians, Process of Amassed Racism in 1977. In the book, Nascimento described how Brazil, over the course of 100 years, have attempted to erase the black population by suppressing their numbers in the census, encouraging miscegenation, and limiting social access to poor favela neighborhoods. So he's saying they were encouraging genocide by encouraging black people to mix. That wow, that's pretty based.
Yeah, that yeah, I agree with that. I can't. That's somewhat similar to what we're experiencing right now. Oh, we got a comment from Anthony. He says Brazil doesn't have a majority of any demographic, but rather a plurality of whites followed by pardos, blacks, and indios. The pardo start isn't reliable though because it just means someone who is part black and or indio, aka mulattoes or sambos.
Well, I was including some of the people that are pardo, like people that are half black, half white as black. So yeah, I guess according to the official statistics, nobody's like the actual majority.
Pardo is the actual would be the majority there.
No, nobody's actually a majority in the country, but I was just adding like pardo, which means people that are mixed race as
Mm.
black.
Oh, I see. So yeah, there is
Because like I mean, if somebody's half black, half white, I would just consider them black.
yeah. I mean, I think that's what most people would do, right?
Yeah. The political, economic, social, and cultural repression experienced by black peoples of Brazil is deplorable, Nascimento wrote. Its ultimate objective is the obliteration of the black as a cultural, physical, or ethnic entity. To be silent would be to give tacit approval to the exploration and destruction of one race by another through systematic oppression and racial ignorance. It would condone genocide and criminal act, but perpetuates an unjust society totally iniquitous to blacks and native Indians in Brazil. I thought I should look into it, but I thought like a lot of native Indians in Brazil have like protective uh areas. Like they have
Uh,
areas just where they can live.
I'm not sure, but I do think that there are I think like
Like
Amazon, like people that live like in the Amazon, like or like in those rainforests. I'm sorry, like aren't there tribes that live there, like Indian tribes that live in those areas? I've seen something about that. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not gonna really comment about it. But I think I've seen some things on that.
yeah, I'm not too sure either. I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure there's like they have protected areas for natives. Maria Franco was never silent on black genocide. One of the laws she proposed as a councilwoman was to acknowledge June 20th as the day of the fight against the incarceration of black youth. Unfortunately, Franco's death didn't slow down the genocide against black people that she fought relentlessly against. In the months since Franco's assassination, there has been at least three massacres in Rio de Janeiro that killed more than 15 men, young men, majority of them black. 2 days after Franco's murder, a 2-year-old child, Benjamin, was shot in the head during a shootout between police and drug dealers. Which I'm sure the police officer didn't shoot a kid in the head to stop drug dealers.
Yeah, it just sounds ridiculous.
1 week later, 8 young men were killed by police in Rocinha, Rio de Janeiro's largest favela. 1.5 weeks later, 5 young men, known for their involvement in hip hop, were shot in the head outside an apartment complex. Militia members, typically off duty police officers who extort communities for protection, are suspected of killing the teens.
Well, yeah, hip hop, and we're shot in the head. So, hip hop and drugs are pretty,
Well connected.
well connected with each other. So I don't know. Hip hop artists don't have a reputation of not being violent, or anything like that.
Yeah, they got.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say they got like quite a few articles in Brazil on the root, and everyone of these articles pretty much reads like this, and that there's a black genocide being done in Brazil. That the police are just needlessly, mindlessly killing people, just killing blacks for no
For
reason.
no reason. And you know what's funny? Like black people see this and they gobble that shit up, right? Like it's part of them, right? In a sense, right? They feel that this incredible injustice is happening to their, black brothers in Brazil. You know what I mean? They feel
Uh,
connected to that.
yeah, they do feel because it's a similar situation, and we would pretty much be in the same spot as Brazil if we weren't being flooded with African. If we were being flooded with Africans instead of Indios from Central America.
Yeah, yeah, true. Absolutely. That was a very insightful article, I could tell you.
Yeah, the root. If you want to get triggered, just visit the root and read one of their articles. Every
Pure
single one of their
cancer.
articles is hyperbole. I mean,
Pure
I think,
cancer. Pure
yeah,
cancer. Pure fucking cancer. If you want to have Jews give you fucking opinions on blacks, that's the fucking website to go to.
yeah, it is pure cancer, and they blow everything out of proportion. Like every injustice that happens to I'll use injustice and scare quotes that happens to blacks is like slavery all over again. It's like Jim Crow is coming around the corner, ready to just be implemented again.
Yeah, they're just gonna
And
start lynching blacks
yeah,
all over the
gonna
fucking
start
place.
lynching blacks.
Oh god, this is in a sense it's kind of not so much different from like what BuzzFeed, right? What we just read from BuzzFeed, right? Not much different. Like in a sense more outrageous, right? Because I think it has to be more outrageous because for blacks things have to just be more outrageous, right? Like they don't really use the same thought processes that we use, right?
No, they're more easily manipulated. More
Exactly.
easily. gaslight them because they
E-
don't question things. They just don't have that capacity to.
Exactly. So, when it comes to reading something like BuzzFeed, even though the BuzzFeed article was kind of ridiculous on its own, and there's many BuzzFeed articles that are ridiculous, they're not as bad as I don't think that. Like I think that those are just way more blown out of proportion. I just think those are just like they are just meant to just emotionally grab people, right? Like to grab that group of people and to really make them upset at the oppressive white person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're trying to rile up black people to be violent, right? Because if you tell them like, "Hey, they're genociding black people for no reason," cops are just going around killing young black youth for sport. They got to meet their didn't do hunting limit.
Didn't do hunting.
Yeah, they got to
I
meet their
like that one.
didn't do hunting quota.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have Anton here. He asked a question. He says, "Have you guys seen Cantwell's new shop, edgygoodies.com? I was thinking of buying the pen hidden camera. Do you know anything about that?"
Oh, I guess you haven't been listening to the show lately. He started a side business, and he can take credit cards through that corporation he started. And edgygoodies.com, he's selling things like a lockpick, which you really should.
Oh God, Cantwell is such a great guy.
Yeah, the lockpick you should not use illegally, or if you're going to use illegally, just
Use it
don't tell
for
anybody about it.
exactly, use it for purposes for your own, needs, that your own personal needs, not, other people's needs.
Yeah, he has a camera pen that you can sneak in, like Project Veritas.
That's what I'm thinking. I was when he said that the pen hidden camera. I'm thinking like, is this to like infiltrate Vice News or something?
One was, I think it was like a alcohol test where you can test yourself before you go out and drive. So I think that would be kind of useful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's pretty awesome. I hope Cantwell. I hope it goes good for him because he definitely needs all the money that we can get, and I'll buy something from there for my personal uses, not anything else.
Yeah, some cool things on there. I might buy the lockpick set just to see how you can actually pick a lock because there's a practice lock with it too.
Plus, you got to
That you can
support
see
your
through.
your humble correspondent, Mr. Cantwell.
Yeah, and it's just easier to do that with credit cards than it is trying to get these cryptocurrencies. Yeah,
Bitcoin, and then cryptocurrency, and especially that it hasn't been doing as good as it once was. So it's just go ahead.
Oh, and if people do want to donate to Cantwell, just be careful. Just don't do it from like a mainstream wallet like Coinbase. Because if you send money directly to him, Coinbase will ban you because
Really?
his address is banned from Coinbase. The Daily Stormer as well.
Fucking Christ,
So
man. Jesus, you can't even. God, these people, these fucking bastards.
so you want to use a mixer. You go to like an onion website, use a mixer, and just send coins that way.
I wonder if this is related to Goldman Sachs having a part of Coinbase. If that's a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
He also said get Monero, but Monero is so difficult to get. You can't pay cash for Monero. You gotta buy some other cryptocurrency, find an exchange on the dark web that will let you exchange that cryptocurrency with Monero. It's just a hassle. You're better off just buying, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Dash, and
Right.
then just mixing up the coin.
This is here. Anton says Chris has the ability to generate a new wallet address if you want to use Coinbase though, so they can detect it. It's him. You donate to. Hold on. Is there more? But crypto is something to hodl for now. I wouldn't donate with it.
I think he meant hold.
Yeah, yeah, that's the term that the crypto guys use. That they pretty much say hold till the rest of your life. There's no way that this money is gonna lose value. I'm
No,
just joking, of course.
I think crypto is useful for trying to move money to people that are like locked out of the financial system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right now it's useful for people like Cantwell and others, but
for
ultimately,
political dissidents.
exactly. But ultimately, I think, in my opinion, of course, this is my opinion, guys. I'm not a financial advisor or anything. Um, I think crypto has some, how can I say, shortfalls, I guess. Would that be the right term? Um, with it. And I would say the reason why, and not to go too deep into the spurgy fucking economics, is that when money arises in an economy, it usually has a direct use value, which means that you get to directly use it for something. And then within time, it has an exchange use value. So you're able to exchange it for things, right? Um, that's the thing that Bitcoin skips that step. It just goes into an exchange value instead of having a direct use value. So that's my only critique of cryptocurrency. And look, I was a person that dabbled in cryptocurrencies before, so I'm not a crypto hater.
Yeah, I don't hate crypto either. It is useful. Otherwise, people like Cantwell, Daily Stormer, Nordic Resistance Movement, none of these people would ever get money if it wasn't for crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of keep sending them as much as you can because they need every bit of it, and it's uh, the only thing that they could get that actually allows them to transact and to survive, right? Because I mean, the financial system is so under control by central bankers and member banks and all this whole fucking conundrum of long nosed tribes that it has become very difficult for them to transact. And if crypto is the only way for them to have, we need to help them out with all that we can.
Yep, and I think we went on quite a while. Time to start wrapping this up.
I agree. I agree.
And
I think it was a great conversation, though. And thank you guys for participating, Anton, especially Arnell. We had our celebrity on here, Pina Shea, Angry Shark, of course. We love that dude. And Sam Ludwig as well.
yeah, this is pretty good. I like this. Um, I was gonna talk to you about the Chris Tucker versus Cenk Uygur debate, but you said you didn't watch it yet.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I will watch it, and then if anything, we'll go over it on the next show. I know it'll be a little bit outdated, but whatever.
Yeah, it is something very good to go over because when he was debating, he wasn't expecting Tucker to say those talking points. He wasn't expecting Tucker to be more of a, uh, I guess I could say left wing when it comes to economics. He wasn't ready for Nasball Tucker.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to it then.
Yep. Well, thank you for listening, guys, to this hour has 56 minutes. Me and Dan will be signing off and see you next time.
All right, guys.